Thank you, Priyanka. I'm pretty delighted to have everyone here, the distinguished panelist here. During this pandemic, we have seen tremendous surge in content consumption because of the lockdown, and we have been pretty bad situation for COVID-19. And we have seen the because of the lockdown, we have seen the content consumption for entertainment, also educational side. However, we have seen video piracy at its peak. As per Parks Association, the revenue loss during the video piracy is just around 9.5 billion, and in Indian market, it have we have lost around 2.8 billion as per Muso report. So India is one of the top five countries in video piracy, and majorly the video piracy happening in peer-to-peer, like Kodi sort of platforms. Now, in this session, we will be covering how the OTT companies covering their content protection and how they are becoming hack-proof platforms. So the security and the hacking, it's a tug of war situation all the time. So the security companies, they have to keep investing fraud detection sort of services, and they are keep upgrading it. And other hand, the hackers, they are keep upgrading their solution to find out the vulnerabilities in the platform. So in this session, we will be looking out how the OTT companies are protecting their premium assets and how they are protecting their revenue churn. So I would like to start from Manish. So the question to Manish first. Uh, what is your view for actually, if you can share your preparation in general, what sort of the OTT providers need to be prepared at their end to fight against the piracy, and is it easy or hard to implement it? So, what is your lookout on that front?
Sure. Thanks, Govind. See, as you rightly mentioned, piracy has been increasing, and during the lockdown, since a lot of consumption was happening on digital, it has further increased. And I would say there is no formula wherein if you implement four set of things, the piracy is going to stop. What we can do, we can only minimize the piracy. We can make it difficult for the pirates to sort of pirate the content, and this requires a 360-degree approach. It's not that if you say that you have done something at the source, you will be able to stop, or you have done some security measures at the CDN, it's going to stop. You have stopped the proxy or the VPN traffic, it's going to stop. So you will have to start at each level, right from the CDN, which is the source wherein the content delivery is happening. You need to put in the encryption methods, whether it is DRM or manifest encryption. You need to have your client sort of protected, because at times we have seen that these clients are, whether it is web, MWeb, or your mobile clients, they leave some vulnerability open, which can be exploited, reverse engineered by the hackers, and start exploiting these things. On top of, while you are doing all these measures of security, whether on the client side, CDN, or wherever, you still need to have a very strong field operations team, because as I said, you are minimizing the piracy, you are not stopping the piracy. And you can have a few instances of content getting pirated. When the content is getting pirated, how quickly you can identify and how quickly you can take it down. So you need to have a 24/7 operations in place, which is automated and manual both. Some of the piracy sources are taking long time and require a lot of follow-ups. Especially we have seen Telegram and other sources have emerged big time during this time as a source of piracy. So you need to have a field operation team which is around the clock sort of monitoring and taking down the content wherever it's visible, and making it difficult for for the pirates to sort of get access to the content. So that's how I think we are doing. We have implemented it at all the places, right at the CDN. CDN, there are multiple ways of stopping it, and we are following and implementing that. We have done at the client side, and we have a field operations team which is round the clock monitoring, and we do the encryption of the content when we deliver. So I think these are all measures are helping us to sort of minimize the piracy to an extent. And it's a continuous journey, right? It's not, I can say that we have achieved nirvana and I really need not to do anything else. So we keep on working. There are newer ways of getting into your finding the content illegally, and then we keep on monitoring and keep on taking measures. So that's how I think it's a continuous journey for us.
Correct. Rightly said, Manish. I totally agree with you. This is a continuous process as you are doing it for 24 into 7 monitoring services, finding out the distribution of your videos on illegal pirated sites. We are facing lots of peer-to-peer applications, which is a lot more hard to find out where this is happening and where this is happening. So I totally agree with you. Also, I would like to understand more on front of while you are doing already having multi DRMs in place. Do you see forensic watermarking a hour of the need? What is take on the forensic watermarking?
Yeah, so see, DRM is able to sort of stop what DRM does actually. There's a fundamental difference between piracy and protecting the content. DRM protects the content and allow the genuine and the legitimate user who has the entitlement to view the content. So you will be able to sort of make sure that only the entitled users are able to watch your content, and that's a digital right protection essentially it's doing. But pirates are sort of one step ahead. So I think watermarking will give you additional arsenal, additional ways of stopping and minimizing the piracy. So I feel that yes, uh, along with DRM, it's important to have watermarking solution which can further help you to sort of make it difficult for the pirates to sort of pirate the content and make it available in the on the internet for illegal consumption. So it really makes sense to have as many precautions you can have to stop the illegal access of the content.
Okay, that's great view. As per Manish's suggestion, your suggestion would be DRM plus forensic watermarking. That's a great. And also, there will be a monitoring services to find out illegal website to find out the contents. That's great. So I would like to go. I would like to ask Praveen. Praveen comes from Disney, and he worked at content protection site for Hollywood Studios. And also he's a part of VIU for implementing content securities all over their platform. I would like to ask Praveen, what are the challenges faced in implementing 360-degree end-to-end content security for OTT ecosystem? What is your take on OTT, total end-to-end security on OTT?
Sure. So first of all, I would like to say that what Manish was just saying was actually straight nail on the head, because he mentioned that there is no nirvana for content security after all. So it's a continuous journey, and a cat and mouse game will always be going to be played between the red teams and the blue teams. So, but when we look at end-to-end content protection, so there are three basic pillars that everyone need to be very cautious about. So one will be when the content is at rest. Another will be when content is in transition between the servers to the consumers. And third is when the content actually reaches the consumer. Then usually we need to be aware that in many of the cases we by mistake we consider encryption as a DRM, and then it doesn't cater to the at least to the last pillar what I mentioned. So it doesn't care about protecting the content once it starts playing, right? So actually that's where the DRM is something that becomes the actual differentiator. So that's where we need to be very much aware that we implement the right sort of on right type of platform. So when we say that, so what I mean by that, right DRM and right platform, so I simply don't intend to go for a brand or something. I'm simply trying to emphasize that. So irrespective whether it is a Google ecosystem or a Apple ecosystem or anything else, so based on the client actually, so there will be vulnerabilities that one has to be aware. For example, on browsers, Chrome is a browser by Google. Widevine is a DRM by Google. Then also, I mean, no way to get L1 support in Chrome itself, right? So when we say L1 support means the highest level of DRM protection that is required for HD. So at least in those cases, try to see for the other kind of implementations. For example, protecting the video recording on, let's say, Chrome, or minimize your quality footprint. So, for example, you don't serve HD quality on the devices which are serving on browser, or at least to the client. Don't serve HD if the client is not well compliant to the highest standard of the DRM protection. So that's what we should be doing, in my opinion. And one point I would like to draw from Manish again. So the clients has to be really protected. So DRM comes next. So, but the first thing is, so the basic foundation of the application itself has to be very much aware that it is not serving to any spoof calls, right? So somebody is pretending to be a genuine application or genuine browser client, but it is not, and it is faking the identity and manipulating or doing all sort of manipulations, right? So that building the strength on the application itself is the very first step, growing it to the full-fledged DRM, and then my controlling your stream quality based on the application or the client. This is what I believe should be a template that we should carry forward, in my understanding and experience in recent years. So this is how I would like to submit my thoughts on this.
So you mean to say this is end to end, like along with multi DRM, fancy watermarking, and you are thinking of creating application security also, because this is also mandatory by Hollywood studios, that majorly they are asking for application security to protect the asset and like rooted devices and the illegal access to the SO files and DLL files. Is it right?
Yeah, so most of it, I mean, we are talking on the same page actually. So only thing what I'm trying to say and emphasize is, so yes, application security is what every big wig in the Hollywood is asking for sure, because DRM protects something when we anyway say that, okay, this person has access to it, and then also he should not be able to copy. But what about we allow somebody to have access to a content for which he is not actually authorized to have access? Then at least he's, even if he's not copying, he is denting the revenue, right? So that is that's how I look at it. On forensic watermarking, of course, this has to be part of the overall deal, especially when we talk about 4K. Below 4K, it's subjective. I would say it's subjective.
Okay, that's a great insight, Praveen. So I would like to jump to the technical expert Binu from AWS. So Binu, I would like to ask what content security related cloud workflows are available with AWS for easy adaptation.
Thanks, Govindraj, and Manish. Nice to see you after a long time.
Same here, Binu.
Great. Thank you, Praveen and Manish, and great insights that I got from you guys. And like Manish said, it's not a one-day journey, right? It's a daily task to keep protecting your content, and it's just not one side of it, just not on the CDN side or on the content side. It's you need to keep protecting it at every level, And I love the fact how Praveen was able to bring in 3 pillars of securing content. So what is AWS able to provide in terms of security? So to just take a step behind, for AWS, security will always be top priority, right? So if you look at it, our organization has been architected to be the most flexible and secure cloud computing environments available today. So our core infrastructure is actually built to satisfy the security requirements for just not OTT, even for the military, global banks, and high sensitivity organizations. So we use the same secure hardware and software for all our customers. So there is no differentiation per se. And how do we do it for, especially for media customers, for OTT customers and media customers, is that one is the DRM front, right? How do we ensure that the content is not available for people who are not authorized to have access to it? So splitting it between VOD and live. For VOD, we've got a product known as Elemental Media Convert. It's got features like client side, server side, client side and server side encryption, tightly integrated with all the DRM companies. I think about 20 of them. And as we are aware, like how Manish mentioned, that DRM just provides an additional layer of key protection, both on the content and also to the business controllers. On the Elemental Media Convert side, we provide Speaky interface, which is it's where we let customers use any kind of a DRM solution for content and encryption real time. And we also offer integration with major forensic watermarking providers, like one provider that we integrate with is Nagra, to avoid content piracy. And with this, we can help customers block any users immediately if they find breach of content. Similarly, for a live product, we've got Media Live and Media Package, which provides the same kind of interface, Speaky. And we actually help our customers protect all major formats like HLS, MSS Dash, CMAF, and we support HLS, ES 128, Fair Play, Dash, Widevine, PlayReady. All of this is available. And one point that Praveen brought in was the importance of protecting content at rest, which is very critical. We always feel that, hey, if the content is not online, then it's probably safe. But it's very critical to protect content at rest as well. So our media store, which is a typical storage specifically for media customers, and S3, they have various kind of security features enabled into it. And one of that would be the AWS KM as a key management system, which actually encrypts content at rest.
Great, Binu. So it's insightful information about AWS Media Services. So I would like to ask a very important question to Sauraja about revenue, because at the end of the day, revenue is important. If the piracy is taking most majorly component for revenue, that's a pretty big loss for each and everyone. So how we can streamline or adopt a standard practice to measure content leakage from production to distribution? So what is your take on revenue, the protection sort of thing?
Thanks, Govind. So I think the first fundamental starting point is that there are 3 pillars for curbing the piracy. One is, of course, the awareness. We need to keep on creating awareness that what is the right content and what is the wrong content, and user awareness is the key. It has to come from outside in approach. So that is the first pillar. The second pillar is, of course, on the technology part and the software part, which most of my fellow panelists also spoke, whether it is Manish and Praveen. They put a lot of light on the technology front. And the third piece is, of course, the legal part, which is the most important part, where we have to also create awareness, and the content providers have to know their rights. That's where the key point is. I mean, if there's a piracy happening and we are not aware of the laws that sort of protect the content providers, then I think nobody can help them out. So I think from all these 3 pillars, one thing that comes out is that as very responsible platforms, we need to invest time, energy, and money in terms of creating all of these 3 pillars in strength by strength, and time to time we need to upgrade it. And as we say about revenue, of course, we saw a lot of surge during the lockdown with consumption going up, then upstick in subscription. But parallelly, there is also a market which was creating by itself with the piracy, driving that force, and that also grew. Very
Yeah.
very.
Rather
It's a metaphorical aspect that also grew by 40-45% across. So I think the buck stops at us. We need to implement all of these three pillars of awareness and technological enforcement that we need to do. So, for example, for Epicon, we have implemented AES 128 encryption. That's the basic encryption that we have done. It's one of the toughest encryption to start with, but we have implemented along with the DRM. And the third level of implementation that we are doing is fingerprinting, right? So that's also a basic way of sort of understanding where your content is being streamed, who is watching, whether it is a bona fide user or it's a user who is not bona fide. So basically differentiating all of those users and the piracy part of the whole content. We are implementing that, and we are also assuring our content providers that hey, I mean, these are some of the best practices. Of course, the practice is nothing at a maximum level, but we keep on evolving from time to time, and we always say that okay, the best practices is something that you implement every day. So this is a very participative approach that content providers to platforms to technology partners and the law enforcement, I think all four have to come together and then keep on evolving time to time. I think that's my take. And yes, revenue is very important for our growth. We need to suppress the piracy market and then grow our own revenue. And it's a reputational loss at the end of the day when your content is available in torrents and other platforms.
it's a brand loss also.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. So there's a revenue loss, and there is, of course, if you see any web series or a TV show, it's out in next couple of hours in a pirated, website. How do we curb that? So we have an agency which does a lot of air checks, knocks down the sites which are unauthorized, blocks them, and then that's how the revenue can be saved. So we are doing at operational level as well.
Okay. That's great insight, Savya. So we have seen this. We are stopping by step. It's not one day we'll be stopping the whole piracy. While adopting this security solution, I would like to ask, what is the dilemma buy versus build? Because everyone can build the security solution in-house. But what is the dilemma on build versus buy? So I would like to take the expert opinion from Manish, Praveen, and Souraja, and then Binu. So I think Manish can start off the dilemma of build versus buy.
I think, Govind, there is no dilemma in this. We definitely would like to work with the solutions built by the experts. And security is something which is very niche and super specialized area, right? Even if I want to build, and it's not that I'm going to build something today, it's going to be there forever. And it's a continuous changing security need and the requirement and new vectors coming in, and you need to kind of keep on evolving it. So I think we just need to go with the solutions available, and then newer solutions coming into the market. The dilemma here is, which I think, or not dilemma, I would say a bit of challenge for us is when you are implementing, since we use multi-CDN and multi-DRM solutions, when you are implementing something, we need to have the consistency of the solution across the multiple CDN. And at times we have seen that what is available on CDN 1 may not be available on CDN 2, and then you need to start doing the customization with the help of CDN partners. So that's where it takes a bit of time. And the second is, I think some of the solutions like watermarking and others, they have yet not reached to the economy of scale, right? They are still on a slightly expensive side. We need to still work on and see that how we can get those solutions available to the masses, I mean, to mass content, and start sort of implementing. That's where we are trying to sort of find a midway and a mid path, that how to implement these solutions with the existing solutions available in the market. So, yeah.
Great. So, what is your take, Praveen?
No, actually, again, Manish is to the point. So,
Yes.
so I wouldn't add too much, but I'll just explain or try to explain my understanding of what Manish just said. So, and I agree with him that solutions provided by security expert is better for any business of scale that we are into, right? So the dilemma is not here about like whether or not we should develop our own DRM or whether or not we should develop our own forensic watermarking or something like that. So the dilemma here is whether somebody has to spend on resources to implement the DRMs provided by Google Widevine, Apple Fairplay, and Microsoft PlayReady. So invest into multiple resources who can maybe do the client side coding and not only coding but renewal or renewal of the entire service scheme as and when there is any breach, then server side experts, and then scaling the solution when it is a multi-region and multi-geography service, and especially when something which is very much catchy is there on plate. For example, if any live event or sport event or let's say any new episode like Game of Thrones or anything like that, if and when that comes, so the transaction per second count. So what is the scale that it can handle? So either so the dilemma here is either to spend on such all such things, including human resources plus technology plus infrastructure, versus to get it from somebody who is there in the industry, who knows the entire ecosystem well, and the economy works there because they are not only providing solution to us but for many other people as well. So for me, it looks like the answer to this question becomes, okay, what is your scale of business, right? So it's simply up to that, because for every transaction cost for any DRM, so there has to be a charge that needs to be paid. So if the scale of business is too huge, maybe I would not name any, but let's say top two OTT service provider in the world, if we want to name, right? So if we think of their subscription numbers, so and we calculate with their subscription numbers with the transactions that they might make, and calculate for how much is the cost for the DRM that they need to pay. So that's where the economy of scale will come into picture. And if the economy of scale justifies, okay, use your own resources, but of course not to develop the DRM solution itself, but utilizing the most well-known DRMs which are studio approved. So either you implement by your own if your economy of scale is like that. If not, then it makes more sense, and in terms of economy also, to go ahead with a service provider who is an aggregator for all those DRM services and can help you not only integrate faster. So it should not only be like somebody giving you the length of description, but not giving you any sample code and you just spend months and months to figure out, okay, what I need to do next. So that's where the challenge and the solution both are. Sorry, I would like to stop here. Otherwise, I'll continue like that.
It's a great insight, Praveen. You're to the point, and Manish also to the point. So I would like to keep discussing with you guys, but we have a time constraint here, and we have a limitation on a time. But it was a great session, and it was a great insights from each and every one from you. And I hope our listeners will be getting a lots of new information, how the big tier one customers are protecting their revenue from piracy, and how the platform providers are helping them to giving them a great technology and resources. So thank you very much, everyone joining this session. It's a pleasure to discussing with you all.
Same here, Govind, Soumitra, Surya, Manish, Binu. Really appreciate all of your time. Enjoyed this discussion.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.